I feel like the last couple of years you've like purposely picked this fight with the red states. I mean, the DeSantis. Yeah, but I don't want to live in the Civil War country.
I agree with that.
You know what? Well, but you seem like you purposely want to set up this dichotomy between, this is a blue state and that's a red state.
You got folks out there trying to bring us back to a pre-1960s world. America in reverse, rolling back voting rights, LGBTQ rights, women's rights, not just access to abortion, but contraception. I mean, it's a profound and consequential moment. And you could sit by and say, well, I really want to get along, as these guys are rolling back the clock.
The governor gave this creepy speech where he was talking about speculators coming in and talking about what to do with the land of all these homes that have been burnt down.
We're dealing with a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties.
We all know Bill Maher hasn't exactly been cozying up to the woke crowd lately. He's been swinging hard at the far left, calling out cancel culture and torching political hypocrisy. But what just happened with Governor Gavin Newsom? Nobody saw this ambush coming. Maher didn't just ask tough questions, he went in like a sniper. Sharp, cold, and unrelenting. And Newsom. He looked like he'd walked straight into a trap, with no way out. Stammering, dodging, pivoting, you could practically see the sweat. This wasn't an interview. It was a public showdown. Maher cornered California's golden boy and forced him to defend every crack in his progressive armor. The audience, dead silent. You could feel the tension humming through the studio like a live wire. So who won this brutal back? Did Newsom claw his way out or crumble under pressure? This wasn't just political theater. It was a verbal slugfest, and I've got the clip to prove it. Watch closely. The moment the room turned. Maher's machine gun questions. Uncomfortable shuffle. The gasps. The awkward laughter, and the exact second everything spiraled. Let's roll the tape.
This year we know. No, I know. But he said, I don't think he could win. I don't think he could win. He's too progressive coming from this state and what he's done in this state to win in any southern state, any red state. I disagreed, but no, this is a progressive African-American owned station, and I'm sure they like you, but he doesn't think you can win. What do you say to that if you could win look at the swing states, there's only 8 of them.
Right. Well, I mean, California is an interesting case study, isn't it? It's the size of 21 state populations combined.
Yeah.
2/3 of the state is very deeply red. We don't need to be lectured on rural politics or border issues. I mean, in so many ways, these are familiar issues, and the issues of the heartland of the United States are very much a part and parcel of the work we're doing in this state. But look, I understand this notion that you're from the coast, you don't understand those things. You can't talk the language. You're not able to communicate. And you're not able to actually encourage and find that common ground.
No, it's stuff like there's a new law in this. I think we have way too many regulations and laws, as we've talked about. And this one, I think, says if you're a department store with over 500 employees, you have to have a gender-neutral toy department.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I get it.
So do you think that's silly? Do you think that's a silly?
If you caught that moment, rewind and listen again. The audience's gasp wasn't just background noise. It was the sound of collective disbelief. Nobody expected Bill Maher to throw that legislative grenade right at Gavin Newsom's feet, and the look on Newsom's face. Priceless. Eyes wide, voice shaking, fumbling for a lifeline as the tension spiked. You could almost feel the panic creeping in. Maher didn't just ask a tough question, he unleashed a trap. And Newsom clearly didn't see it coming. It was like watching a cornered politician try to outmaneuver a lion with a smirk. A brutal, slow-burn moment of pure political theater. And in that split second, the power dynamic flipped. Newsom wasn't the governor anymore. He was the prey.
As the department stores came to us supporting that. And they were the ones making a case for that. They were making a case, they're already moving in that direction.
Wanted you to make a law about them?
Well, but they supported the legislation. It wasn't legislation that was enacted, that was initiated from my office, but it was legislation that came up with interesting support from the industry itself. But I understand how that's exploited, and good people can disagree. But that's not something we woke up and said, this is a top priority for the state, when we know the top priorities are homelessness, housing, the issues of crime, quality of life, and issues related to regulation and taxes, which are all top of.
Here's where things got really dicey. The question was straightforward. Does Gavin Newsom honestly believe it's the government's job to strong-arm toy stores into creating gender-neutral aisles if they have over 500 employees? Simple, right? But instead of giving a clear, honest answer, Newsom threw up a smokescreen. Suddenly, we're off on a scenic detour through corporate compliance and vague endorsements from big box retailers. Convenient. Nice try, Governor, but nobody asked if Target was cool with it. The question was about government overreach and you dodged it like your career depended on it. This is the playbook. When progressives get pressed on their own policies, they pivot, stall, and hope the audience forgets what was actually asked. It's like watching someone twist themselves into a political yoga pose just to avoid saying the obvious. But here's where Maher flips the script. He doesn't attack Nod at first. He softens the ground, lays down a compliment, lures Gavin in with charm. And then boom, he drops the hammer. Listen closely. This is where the entire tone shifts.
Well, I got you here because I live here and I'm not going anywhere. So I just want to make this a better state like everybody else.
Amen.
And good job this year making it rain.
You're welcome. That was my legislative priority.
Maher slips in a sly
compliment, just enough sugar to make Gavin shift in his seat. You can see it on his face, that tight smile, that subtle twitch. He knows a storm is coming, and that awkward chuckle from the audience. That wasn't laughter. That was nervous anticipation. Everyone in the room could feel it, like watching a magician set a trap. And the rabbit's already halfway inside. Newsom, polished and poised like the career politician he is, was gearing up for his big moment. But Maher snatched the spotlight before he could even open his mouth. And when Maher struck, it wasn't a jab, it was a demolition. The line landed with the force of a televised takedown. Newsom stumbled. The crowd recoiled, and Maher. He leaned back with that signature smirk, watching the chaos he had just unleashed. This wasn't just a political stumble, it was a live, on-air implosion.
The river and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then whenever I read, 80% of the water goes to agriculture. Almonds.
Right.
No one ever asked you about almonds? Oh, I'm going to ask you about almonds. We grow a boatload of
I'm
almonds
well
here.
aware.
You know how much water it takes?
Many gallons.
1,900 gallons to grow a pound of almonds.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Take on big almond.
Take on big almonds.
I mean, it's not like we don't have the water.
Then came another blistering curveball from Morand. This one hit a nerve. For years, California officials have cried wolf about devastating water shortages, swearing the rivers were running dry. But guess what? Turns out water was never the real problem. Because a jaw-dropping 80% of it is being sucked up by almond farms. That's right, almonds, the thirsty little divas of California agriculture, draining as much water as every single household in the state combined, and all for a crop that barely makes up 2% of California's economy. You can't make this stuff up, so Maher hits him with the obvious. If almonds are bleeding the system dry, what on earth is Gavin Newsom doing about it? And that's where the dance begins. Newsom doesn't answer, he performs. Spinning, dodging, pivoting like he's in the finals of Dancing with the Stars, hoping no one notices the total lack of substance in his reply. But Maher's not buying the footwork. He's watching, waiting, and ready to strike again.
Here's with these atmospheric rivers. Wets are getting a lot wetter, dry's drier, hot's getting a lot hotter. And so we've got to modernize our conveyance system. We've got to modernize our storage, not just above ground, but below ground. And so that's a big part of our focus and frame, including desalinization plants. We have 20 projects just on desal that we're working on today. So we put out a detailed water strategy that includes, by the way, getting that Delta conveyance project back up and operational, and includes the first above ground off stream storage facility in half a century in the state, which, by the way, is being aided by a regulatory package I pushed forward to reduce red tape in the state of California and address the permitting quagmires that you rightfully.
And just like clockwork, Bamman, other woke monologue, straight out of the progressive playbook. But this time, Newsom managed to pack the entire delusion into under a minute. A new personal record in political gaslighting. He didn't just dodge criticism, he demonized it. Anyone who questions the woke agenda. According to Gavin, they're shapeshifters trying to drag America back to the 1960s. Because in Newsom's world, disagreeing with radical policy isn't DeSantis bigotry with a time machine. This is the same crowd, pushing biological men into women's sports, forcing shared bathrooms, and shaming anyone who dares to raise a concern. They're rewriting the rules, dismantling merit, and demanding that kids make life-altering decisions before they even know how to spell decision. And when parents push back, they're smeared as dangerous extremists. This isn't progressive, it's ideological warfare. And Newsom, he's not just complicit, He's leading the charge. Should we be shocked? Hardly. This is the same guy who once claimed speculators were circling wildfires, while flames were still devouring the state. Even Joe Rogan had to pause and ask, is this guy serious? What Newsom just said isn't politics. It's a red flag waving in plain sight.
With the red states, I mean, the DeSantis. Yeah, but I don't want to live in the Civil War country.
I agree with that.
You know what?
Well,
but you seem like you purposely want to set up this dichotomy between, oh, this is a blue state and that's a red state, and I don't want to live in that country. I like Florida.
I'm with you. And by the way, I like Florida as well. I like all these states. I completely agree. I don't want to have a state of mind that's a constant fight or flight. We've gone through so much. We've been polarized and traumatized. There's been a tough 5-6 years across the globe, not just in this country. That said, I'm not going to sit back and watch. You made the point just a moment ago in your monologue. You got folks out there trying to bring us back to a pre-1960s world. America in reverse, rolling back voting rights, LGBTQ rights, women's rights, not just access to abortion, but contraception. I mean, it's a profound and consequential moment. And you could sit by and say, well, I really want to get along, as these guys are rolling back the clock, or you can stand tall and assert yourself. And the reason I started to go into those red states, the reason I started to take on DeSantis, and the reason I started doing ads in these red states is I didn't feel my party was doing enough. It was CRT one year, then it's ESG, and it's
So when I say the woke elite are selfish power players, hiding behind a mask of morality, believe it. They chant buzzwords like compassion, equity, and justice from their taxpayer-funded podiums. But the second there's money on the table, that fake virtue vanishes faster than Gavin Newsom at a press conference. While real Californians were literally fighting to save their homes from burning to ash, Newsom wasn't on the front lines. He was busy calculating profits, relief efforts, policy change, emergency response. Please. That wasn't the priority. The only emergency Gavin saw was how to squeeze more personal gain out of a disaster. And let's not forget this is the same man who slammed lockdowns on small businesses while secretly fine dining at Napa's elite French Laundry. The same so-called climate crusader who rants about carbon footprints from the window of a private jet. The same man of the people who governs from gilded towers while ordinary Californians sleep in tents on LA's sidewalks. And yet the woke mob still bows down, treating him like some kind of progressive messiah. Why? Because it's never been about truth, never about the people. It's always been about power, optics, and unshakable control. This is the blueprint of every woke politician: promise utopia, deliver chaos, build fortresses for themselves while the rest of us live in the ruins. They destroy the economy, hollow out public trust, and then step back with a smirk, untouched, unfazed, and fully paid. Newsom and his clique don't feel the impact of their own catastrophic policies. You do. They don't lose their jobs, their homes, or their future. You do. And as long as their bank accounts keep growing, they will never stop. This is the darkest irony. They preach equality while enforcing division, claim to empower women while erasing them, wave the flag of democracy while crushing every voice that dares to dissent. Gavin Newsom isn't a leader. He's a polished fraud with a PR machine, a crisis profiteer who dodges responsibility like it's a sport. All while the woke echo chamber cheers him on. And the scariest part, they don't even care about the consequences because they've insulated themselves from them. For the woke mob, it's never been about doing what's right. It's always been about doing what keeps them in charge.
Coming in and talking about what to do with the land of all these homes that have been burnt down.
We're dealing with a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties.
While it's still only 6% contained. And he did this little dance, like, I've been talking with the governor of Hawaii about what to do. We've got some ideas, a speculator, we're going to have some meetings.
And the like, so we're already working with